ladies and gentlemen, just a quick announcement. The 3 Hall of Fame recipients, please go ahead and make your way towards the back.
Hi, how are you?
Recipients, please go ahead and make your way towards the back with the waving Dr. Fenner in the back. Thank you.
Oh my God, thank you.
Out of practice.
Huh?
Out of practice.
Alrighty, good morning. My name is Austin Anderson. I'm the Director of Athletic Communications here at Judson University. We are so blessed that you're all here joining us today. Well, I have the opportunity and the luxury of being able to welcome the 2021 Judson University Hall of Fame class. And these 3 individuals certainly left a legacy on the athletic department through their performance and leadership. So I'll go ahead and read off all 3 of our athletes and coaches who are being enshrined today. So our first recipient was an integral student athlete during the early years of Judson's athletic department. He performed in 3 sports with the Eagles and was a member of the soccer team, basketball team, and the track team. With the track team, he was a prominent star as he was an NIIC, Northern Illinois and Iowa Conference javelin champion, and had reached an Olympic qualifying mark in that competition. He also won numerous NIIC all-conference awards and had records upon leaving Judson in the javelin, long jump, triple jump, and numerous team relays. He was a 3-year letter winner and was named the team's most valuable athlete and inspirational athlete during the 1971 season. As a basketball and soccer player, he was a multiple-time letter winner and was named most improved player on both of those squads. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Ed Allen! Our next recipient was a 4-time letter winner for the Judson University softball program and ranks among the all-time greats within the program. She made impact immediately as a freshman, batting .436 with 20 doubles, 71 hits, 21 walks, and top 10 marks in single-season program history. That effort earned her CCAC First Team All-Conference honors and NCCAA All-American selection. In 2009, she repeated her conference top team honors and NCCAA All-America recognitions. In 2010, she set 3 single-seated records with 14 home runs, 78 total hits, and 68 RBI. Her 14 doubles earned her a top 5 mark in school history for a single season. Once again, she earned NCCAA and CCAC honors that year. Her senior season was the most decorated as she earned COSIDA Academic All-American honors, CCAC First Team All-Conference, and NCCAA All-American selection. And she was named the Judson University Athlete of the Year and Scholar Athlete of the Year, and she ranks first in program history in hits with 284, RBI with 209, and runs scored with 176. Give it up for Nicole Dimiceli! Last but not least, our third recipient was the head coach of the best 5-year run in Judson women's volleyball program history. She led the Eagles to 3 NAIA Great Lakes sectional championships and 3 NCCAA national tournament appearances, finishing in the top 5 teams nationally each year. She coached 4 Judson Hall of Fame members during her tenure and holds the best winning percentage in program history at .541 and is tied for the most wins in program history with 111. Let's give it up for Karen Swanson! Ladies and gentlemen, one more time for your 2021 Judson University Hall of Fame class. At this time, I'll give the stage to Executive Vice President, Dr. Nikki Fenner.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Well, good morning. It's my honor to welcome you to the 2021 Judson University Athletics Hall of Fame. As Austin said, my name is Nikki Fenner, and it's my pleasure to serve Judson University, but as I always say, more importantly, our students and our former students as the Executive Vice President. It's a role that I get to work directly with intercollegiate athletics, and that's near and dear to my heart. Having been a coach and athletic director for several years, I understand and really highly value the role that intercollegiate athletics plays in the life of an institution. And when I joined Judson in the Judson community in October of 2019, it really did not take long to personally witness how impactful athletics is on this community. As I'm sure all of our Hall of Fame inductees can attest, the valuable life lessons, the literal blood, sweat, tears shed in practices and competitions, the wins and losses both on and off the field competition, the spiritual development, and the lifelong bonds that are built are but a few of the items that we as college student athletes take with us every day after we wear the college jersey for the last time. And you know what? It's hard to take that jersey off for the last time, isn't it? We know how fast that experience goes and how precious every moment is. Our Hall of Fame inductees have definitely left a legacy, and we strive to build upon that foundation that you and so many other great student athletes have established. We're very, very thankful for your example and for spending your time with us this afternoon. We look forward to celebrating you with this well-deserved honor. As you leave today as the newest members of the Judson Athletics Hall of Fame, we know you will continue to be role models and lay solid foundations for all of those who will walk in your footsteps. We are thankful for you, and we are thankful that God placed you at Judson University. After lunch, we will recognize some previous inductees who are in attendance, and we will commence with a special recognition, and then our 2021 Hall of Fame awards will be dispersed. A brief bio for each of your Hall of Fame members is in your program, very similar to what Austin shared with you in the introductions. And now, it is my great honor, my personal privilege, to introduce to you the 6th president of Judson University, Dr. Croom, who is absolutely one of the biggest fans of Eagle Athletics. Dr. Croom?
Thank you for your applause. Sometimes, though, just having a young person go, yeah, is better than any applause, isn't it? So, welcome back to campus. For many of you, we are glad that you are here for this historic weekend at Judson University. Historic for a variety of reasons, not the least of which is that we are having our first home football game in school history. But also, at least in my 9 years, we have more alumni, friends, and individuals coming back to campus collectively for our homecoming events than any time that we can remember. And that is part of the energy and the spirit that intercollegiate athletics brings to a college campus. As part of my welcome and introduction, it's also my privilege to share just a brief thought about Stuart Doc Rider. We'll be honoring Doc Rider at 1:30 today with his memorial service. And Doc Rider was probably one of the greatest champions for intercollegiate athletics at Judson University, which is one of the reasons when you go to the Spirit Store, and you'll notice the Spirit Store is probably greatly redone since the last time that you visited it. In the very back, we have a little lounge area for our students, and Doc donated to us a lot of his intercollegiate memorabilia, basically his jackets, his tracksuits, things like that. We have them displayed back there. And a lot of the students don't know the history of the story, but that's one of the reasons we do have them back there. One of my last visits with Doc, I went over to his apartment to take him a book by Bill Wolfe. Bill was a Judson graduate, played sports at Judson University, went on to become a pastor, and is passionate about writing a trilogy about basketball. And so he wanted me to take Doc a copy of his book that he had personally signed. I called Doc, organized the chance to go over and have tea with him. And as I'm finishing tea with Doc, about an hour and 45 minutes later, much to my surprise, and clearly much to his surprise as well, Doc goes, "Well, thank you for coming and visiting. This was surprisingly enlightening conversation." And I paused for a minute, but what Doc meant was, Doc had expectations for everything. And he had expectations for his students. He had expectations for his colleagues. And he certainly had expectations for Judson College than Judson University. His high expectations of who we can be as brothers and sisters in Christ have forever changed this institution. It has made us a much, much better place. And again, there was no greater champion for intercollegiate athletics than Doc Rider. And so we're blessed to have his memory here, and we're going to be honored to celebrate him later this afternoon. Another individual who's passionate about athletics is our Interim Athletics Director, and it's my pleasure to introduce him right now to come up and bless our meal. And it's a little fitting because Gary Newsom, in addition to being a championship-winning coach, an outstanding and well-respected athletic director, and then a conference commissioner, spent much of his career at Olivet Nazarene. And as God would have it, as the stars lined up and everything fell into place, our homecoming football game we play Olivet Nazarene. Just a top 20 team, so this should be an interesting afternoon. But you can tell that you have the right person to step in for a brief time period to help continue to shape your athletic program, that when you announce who that individual is, you get calls from other presidents saying, "Great decision to have Gary step into your interim athletic director role." We're honored to have him here. He's going to pray for our meal. Gary. Thank you.
Let us pray. Father, we want to thank you for this great celebration. We thank you for Judson University and their influence in our community. Father, we are blessed to have such tremendous coaches and athletes represent Judson in our Hall of Fame. We thank you for Ed and Karen and Nicole. We pray that you would continue to bless them as well as their families. Father, bless this meal, bless the hands that have prepared the food, bless the hands of service today. May we forever be grateful for the athletic talent assembled today, and may we forever be grateful for Judson University. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Exactly where you pulling from.
history of Judson University. And we unveiled a banner that will remain in the gym in perpetuity that honors Annalise Cisneros and her accomplishments. So I shared this morning that I had the great honor of witnessing Annalise win her 6th national championship in early March 2020. Yes, I said 6 national championships. And that was in the indoor race walk, and that was at the NAIA National Championships. So in that race, I saw a scholar athlete who didn't just win a national championship, she dominated a national championship race. However, what I said is that this is not what made me the most proud. I've seen my share of scholar athletes do amazing things. But what made me really beam with pride was how she handled herself during and after the race, congratulating her competitors, coming to me, a vice president who she had never met before, and being so graceful and gracious and so excited that I would come and watch her. It was all about everybody else. And that's the type of selfless and humble person Annalise Cisneros is, and makes us just even more excited to honor her. So I asked Judson's former track and field coach, Joel Hoppenfuss, who was Annalise's coach for her 4 years here at Judson, to share a little bit about what he had to say. And here's just a portion. He said, when Annalise arrived at Judson, she brought a winsome personality, a positive attitude, a great work ethic, a teachable spirit, and an unwavering commitment to her teammates. She also brought with her the entire Cisneros family, and they continue to be a great gift to the program. And I can attest to that, feeling like I was in the Cisneros home eating with them today. So thank you for allowing me to share your table. Coach Hoppenfuss, and if you know Coach Pop, he had a great sense of humor. He went on to say, I often said to Annalise before a race and before she would get to the starting line, I would say, hey Annalise, what did he say?
Consider winning.
Yes! He would say, Annalise, consider winning. And win she did. Well, yes, Annalise did win, and she continues to win. And please let me tell you why she's the most successful scholar athlete in the history of Judson University and very deserving of a permanent display in our gymnasium. As we heard, Annalise's success are just not athletic. Academically, 6-time CCAC all academic athlete, 6-time NCCAA scholar athlete, 6-time NAIA scholar athlete award winner, a 4-time United States Track and Field and Cross Country Coaches Association all-academic team. She was Judson's University Scholar Athlete of the Year. And in 2019, she was named the Lincoln Laureate for Judson University for the state of Illinois. This is a statewide award based on academics and character. And speaking of character, she has great awards for her character. In 2018-19, she was the CCAC Dr. Leroy Walker Champion of Character Award winner, and she earned the Judson's University Champions of Character Award. Then, of course, there's what she did on the track. She had numerous NCCAA and CCAC Athlete of the Year Week honors. She was twice named the Judson Athlete of the Year. She was featured on the Sports Center 2020 Senior Night Series. 7 times, she was the CCAC Race Walk Champion, 7 times an NAIA All-American, 6 times an NAIA National Champion. She also finished 8th this year at the 2021 Olympic Trials in the race walk. Annalise, we're excited to celebrate you today. Your success, your character, and the person you are. Allow me to wrap up with one more quote from Coach Pop. Far too often in the sports world, high-level athletes are all about themselves. That's not Annalise. Just as she was a champion on the track and a champion in the classroom, she was always a champion in the character department. She always carried herself with class and treated competitors, coaches, and officials with the highest level of respect. You could not ask for a better teammate, a better athlete to coach, nor a better representative of our program or our university. Annalise, thank you for representing Judson University. Please come forward to receive recognition from Dr. Croom. And now we get to induct some members into our Sports Hall of Fame. And that's a pretty exciting thing. So attending, we have some former Hall of Fame inductees here, and as I say your name, could you raise your hand or stand? With us we have some Hall of Fame members. Tori Gum is here today. Steve Camry. Jennifer Alderson. Nicole Skripchak. All right, thank you. Did I miss anybody? Any other Hall of Fame? Thank you. All right. So as we transfer into our Hall of Fame awards, the first Hall of Fame award, I'm going to invite Becky Pearl, a former Judson softball coach, in to induct Nicole Dimiceli into our Judson Hall of Fame.
Good afternoon. First off, I'd like to congratulate Ed, Nicole, and Karen Swanson on today. And like I was just introduced, my name is Becky Pearl. I was a softball coach here from 2004 to 2014. And before I'm going to read because I have yet to make it through without tearing out for Nicole. So, you know, those girls that are here already know that comes out sometimes. I recently spoke with some of Nicole's teammates. And it was so cool to hear how they described her. As a coach, you always think the best of your athletes. You try to encourage and cheer them on while pushing them to be the best that they can be. But the true test is to hear what their teammates feel about them. Some words they used to describe you were confident, dedicated, super smart, hardworking, and I couldn't agree more. As you've all read Nicole's long list of awards in our program today, I'm sure you can see how all of her hard work and dedication paid off, both in the classroom and on the field. She still dominates many of the softball records, and if you watched her play, you just thought it was easy for her. And it was easier for her than some others. She worked every day. Nicole is such a talented athlete and shortstop that we even made her catch. and that's not the easiest position to just jump into, but she did it. She didn't complain, she just jumped in and helped. She could hit the ball a mile, and her smile, just like today, lights up a room, especially when she's in her element, kicking booty on the field. Her teammates said she always showed up, they trusted her on the field, and she was gritty in a good way. For me, grit stands for growth mindset, resilient, integrity, and team first concept. I can't think of a better way to honor such a talented player than to call her gritty. To be remembered by those who knew you so well as teammates and myself as her coach. As someone that always wanted to be and get better on the field and off the field. To be resilient to things outside of our small circle in order to focus on the job at hand. To have integrity and to put the team first. From goofy team outings and costume parties, to crazy trips through Virginia in the JU bus, even when we're not supposed to drive up that mountain. To winning a conference championship in 2011, I feel blessed to have been part of Nicole's journey and to coach such a talented athlete. I know her students are lucky to have such a dedicated and talented teacher. So it's with great honor that I introduce to you 2021 Hall of Fame inductee, Nicole Dimiceli.
Slowly, come on.
All right, so I might be like Ross and Friends where I like read and then look up and read and look up. I don't really prepare to memorize the speech, but First of all, hello everyone. I'm Nicole, and first I want to thank those that helped make this honor possible. Parents, family, coaches, and friends. It's a privilege to have you here to celebrate this accomplishment with me. To think 10 years later I would be back here at Judson. Time has flown by and lots of lessons learned, patience, and memories have been made. Countless hours driving to and from games. Thanks, Mom. Countless hours practicing. Thanks, Mom. Teammates, roommates, coach. And countless hours studying. My former roommates. Thank you for that. Speaking of time, I spent a lot of time here at Judson. Professor Beebe and Coach made learning fun during team sports and individual sports. And I can't tell you how many times I've listened to Freddie King and his tangents. And luckily I haven't had to bust out any of the kinesiology terms while I'm teaching or anything, so I guess that's a good thing. The one thing they didn't tell us was whatever you learned in education classes isn't what actually happens in the real world. I also can't ever forget the nights I spent at the Daily Herald working down the street after softball practice. Patsy was there. She's sitting over at that table I worked with Becky over there, so it was great. I can't help but reminisce of all the hard work that was put into my time here and how I've continued to carry that throughout my life. One thing I'll never forget is how I had to run 3 miles in a day to make practice. First mile I didn't make 8 minutes. And at lunchtime I had to come back and run another mile. I didn't make 8 minutes. And that was on the track over at the gym. And then I had the help from a treadmill and I made it. I made the 8 minutes. And something I learned from that is where there's a will and there's a way. And no matter how hard it got through. All the experiences I've had here at Judson have shaped me into the educator, coach, and person I am today. I have been fortunate enough to get asked to try out for major conference slow pitch softball because that's all I have left. Softball in school took discipline, and I had great friends and family at my side during my journey here. I'm very fortunate to have gained many honors while I've been here, as well as get my degree in physical education and health. It is a huge honor getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. I've gotten my master's in education and am looking to get my EDS or PhD in education or pursue something new. I hope to continue coaching someday and playing competitive slow pitch softball. We all know sports are my happy place, and whether it be softball, ping pong, or arcade basketball, I continue to give it my all. I look forward to the future. Thank you again, Judson, and everyone that's here for me. This is an incredible honor, so thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. Next, I'll invite Steve Camry, our former Judson Athletic Director, to introduce our next Hall of Fame inductee at Allen. Steve?
Ed, it's hard to believe that you look like that kid. That's your son, yeah. Yeah, he was 6'3", about 185 pounds, and he was a good athlete. So anyway, we're here today to talk about the accomplishments and contributions that all these athletes made to the university. I may get mixed up a little bit because when I was here, it was a college. So if I refer to college, I mean university. Many of the Hall of Fame members could not be here today because of the COVID. I've spoken to many of them that I coached. But we have one person here who is not a Hall of Fame member, who's been here to more Hall of Fame banquets than anyone else, Bruce Pemberton. He's sitting right over there. Ed, can you believe it's been 50 years in the making?
No. I heard 10.
I'm sorry, it's been 50. We don't remember much about the scores or the times or anything else, but we do remember the participation and the dedication that we had when we were athletes here. So anyway, I want to tell you a little bit about Ed. Ed came to us from Kankakee, Illinois, and he was recruited by a man by the name of Bob Bolton. Bob Bolton preceded me as the basketball coach and the athletic director. But Bob never really fulfilled his dream of coaching all these guys. Well, Bob had recruited 5 players that ended up being in the Hall of Fame, and they were good. Ed came in as a freshman, as a basketball recruit, but he didn't get to play much because of all these other Hall of Famers. So anyway, he sat at the bench and he learned and he practiced against these guys every single day, and he got pretty good. When he became a junior, Ed became a starter on the basketball team. When he was a senior, he was unanimous all conference. Now, I can't tell you how many points he scored or any rebounds. All I know is that he could jump vertical 40 inches. He was a good jumper, and he's a pretty good rebounder. So anyway, I want to recognize the support of the foundation of this program way back then, when we had the likes of Amos Barton, Ed Boss, Jim Didier, Lois Warner, Dick Besanson, Bob Erickson. These people supported the athletics and the vision that they had for us to do what we did, and where we're at today is very important to the athletic program. I would not be here today without them, because I stood on their shoulders of those administrators and also the athletes that I was able to coach. Anyway, Ed was a multi-sport athlete back then. He ran track, played soccer, played basketball. Back then, all of our athletes, we had to do multiple sports in order to succeed. So we encouraged all the athletes to play in more than one sport. Taking a look at Ed and his accomplishments, excuse me. There are a lot of stories that we can tell about Ed in each sport. So I got a little humor I got to share with you about 3 of the sports. I'd like to talk about Card Shark Eddie. We were on an away basketball trip somewhere. We were in a motel, and he got involved with a penny ante poker game with the likes of Bob Dillard, Joe Jackson, and he came to me with a story then, somebody stole my money. I didn't have much to say about it. The stories have changed over the years, but you know, Eddie, you should never have played cards with those Chi-Town boys. Case is closed. When basketball was over, Eddie went directly to track season. He set many records in the relays and the jumping events. He came to me one day, I was the athletic director, also the basketball coach, and he says, "Coach, I want to throw the javelin. Will you buy me a javelin?" I said, "Sure." So I bought him a javelin. Without any coaching, he went out and proceeded to win first in the events in the javelin, and he set a mark that qualified him to throw in the Olympics. Obviously, he didn't get to go to the Olympics, but that was really something. a lot of dedication and a lot of spirit. Coach Jerry Smith was a soccer coach, and he had a few things to say about Ed's abilities also. He was a fierce competitor, and he was so fast. Back then, we didn't have a lot of skills, but he was so fast that coach put him on the wing, and he would run after the ball, and he was so quick he could beat anyone to it. And he also learned to throw the ball in from the sideline with two hands and put it in the mouth of the goal. Well, then one day, they were playing at the University of Chicago, and I talked to Coach Smith. Actually, that's the only game that he says he can remember that they won. That he and a teammate by the name of Craig Marshall went up to head a ball. And they had a sandwich, they sandwiched a player in between. Well, that other player didn't go up and jump to head the ball. So Craig and Eddie banged heads. Eddie went down. They couldn't find his eye. It is gone. So anyway, he went to the hospital, and at the hospital, the doctor found it. It had been compressed back into his skull somewhere. So anyway, he was a fierce competitor, and he became known then as One-Eyed Eddie. So he's been a lot of different things, but he called Eddie. Well, it was my privilege to be able to coach number 13 in basketball for 2 years. He was dedicated himself to himself. He dedicated himself to the university. He was an excellent ambassador for the university. And he dedicated himself to his God. Opportunities only happen once in a lifetime. And recognition may have taken 50 years for Eddie to become recognized. Here was a young man that did not score 25 points a game, did not have 30 rebounds a game, was not a most valuable player necessarily, but he was the base and the platform that set everything for the athletic program as we know today. He was a wonderful man to have been able to coach. So if you ever need anything, call Eddie. He, blue and white runs through his veins. He always has been. And he's a wonderful, wonderful athlete. Also, he was homecoming king in 1971. So it's my privilege to introduce to you this year Eddie Allen. You old dog.
Wow. Some introduction, but you got 50 years to come up with stuff. That's great. I was very involved in Boy Scouts, had been since I got out of college and teaching and so forth. And you don't let anything get in the way of a good story. And we call it embellishment. So I think Steve was embellishing a little bit. But we also used to, for 50 years, he and I used to say, you're never going to remember the scores and so forth, but you'll always remember the good times. A lot of good times at Judson. Just can't tell you, and it's an honor to be here. Now, I'm like, I got to read it too. I'm not very good off the cuff. So, and my first thing I wrote here is thank you, Steve, very much. And my first word was wow, but I What an honor to be inducted into the Judson University Athletic Hall of Fame. What a legacy for me and my family. Excuse me. Steve and I want to thank you for nominating me, and I appreciate that very, very much. Also, thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for selecting me, and congratulations to my fellow 2021 inductees, Nicole and Karen. Austin Anderson, Kristen Egan, Julie Schmidt, Joel Hoppenfuss, Gary Newsom, thank you for all you've done and all you do and have done to support the many activities here at Judson. To be inducted into the Judson University Athletic Hall of Fame and to be included with the individuals, athletes, and coaches who have upheld the highest standards of for Judson and its sports teams is an incredible honor. I do want to recognize and congratulate my teammates, friends, and coaches that have been previously inducted into the Hall of Fame. One of my favorite people, Joe Jackson, Woody Smith, Corin Turner, Jerry Guzzi, Mike Harlan, Tom Kimball, Mike Glicker, Gary Shelley, Bob Dillard, Brent Weber, Gasha Abibi, John Hanchin, Reggie Smith, Tom Randall, Jason Russell, Jenny Tynes, Alderson, I have to say that, I only know he's as Tynes, Jack Mathias, Bob Politica, Jerry Smith, and Steve Camry. To put this ceremony in perspective, it's been 54 years ago that an immature 18-year-old from Kankakee, Illinois, enrolled into Judson. Coming to a Christian college was just what I needed. I was so excited for the opportunity to play sports and also get a college education. Bob Bolton recruited me to play basketball. He started me on the varsity, which he did the first few games that when I first came to Judson in 1967. But just before the third semester, we had trimesters back then, I had to leave school due to the lack of finances. I went home to work for that trimester and all summer so that I could afford to continue to come back to continue at Judson. When I returned, I met a new basketball coach, Jerry Smith. We had a school record of 19 wins, and that record stood for 15 years. In 2012, that team was inducted into the Judson Hall of Fame. I am very proud to have been a member of that team. It's hard to get my head around the fact that it was 50 years ago. As a senior, I was homecoming king with Queen Jill Blatchley, and then I graduated in 3 2/3 years from Judson. I would not be standing here today if it wasn't for support from my parents, brothers, and sister. So I thank my mom, dad, my brother Jerry, Dave, and Don, and my sister Mary Ann. It is pretty special that I also get to share this Hall of Fame induction with my immediate family, friends, and teammates. I would like to introduce my wife Nancy, she's back there, my daughter Kim, my son and his wife Brittany, my son Scott and Brittany. Also here is my sister Mary Ann and my brother Don and his wife Chris. An empty spot in my heart is that my wife and kids never saw me play sports in college. That would have been fun, and I think all of us in here have had that experience. I have told them about college career, and thanks to Judson Hall of Fame, they can now share my achievements. Being a 3-sport athlete created many memories, experiences, and good times. Participating basically year-round, I had the opportunity to meet and interact with so many different people who are now lifelong friends. What Judson did for me and what I took with me from Judson is immeasurable. I got along very well with all my teammates. Being a team player was my greatest attribute. You know that there is only one basketball and one soccer ball in the game at a time. I played with a lot of great athletes, and I read all their names that are now in the Hall of Fame. Track, on the other hand, has individual events, but they do keep a team score. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame is such a joy for me, and it hit me the other day that I will always be now a part of Judson University for eternity. I like to close by saying thank you to my coaches for their coaching support and leadership, Bob Bolton in basketball, Jerry Smith soccer and basketball, Tom Chase in track, and Steve Camry in basketball. I have always enjoyed being a part of Judson, whether it be in sports, the classroom, friendships, or painting the buildings on campus, I think I wrote. After graduation during the summers, I had a painting crew that painted the outside of all the buildings here on campus. We also painted the dorm rooms. I used to be able to say that any building that had white paint, I painted. To the Judson University family, I thank you for this special honor, and God bless.
And last but certainly not least, I would like to introduce Lana Rasmussen Smith, a former player under Karen Swanson, to induct her into the Hall of Fame.
Greetings. I am Lana Smith, formerly Lana Rasmussen, also known as number 11. I attended Judson from 1994 to 1998 and played with Coach from 1994 to 1997. And I'm sharing this experience with my wonderful team player.
Hi, I'm Nicole Scripshock, formerly Nicole Wagner, also known as number 13. Lana and I came into Judson together as freshmen and played for Coach during the same years.
Nicole and I are honored to be here with all of you at this Hall of Fame induction luncheon to introduce to you and honor Dr. Karen Swanson, our college volleyball coach. We feel privileged to speak about her character and her coaching accomplishments.
Karen coached volleyball at Judson University from 1992 to 1997. She is the winningest coach in Judson volleyball history with 111 wins and has the highest win percentage at .541. She is a three-time NAIA Great Lakes sectional champion and won numerous tournaments. Coach took her team to the NCCAA National Tournament during 3 consecutive years, 1993, 1994, and 1995. Her coaching leadership produced many Scholar, Hall of Fame, All-Sectional, All-Tournament, Player of the Week, and All-American female athletes.
Coach has been highly regarded for her coaching leadership and spiritual influence on and off the court by her teams as a whole and by her athletes as individuals. She has made lasting impressions on her athletes as they will continue to carry her voice and life lessons within themselves today. Nicole and I are proud to celebrate Coach by highlighting her coaching achievements, honoring her character, and reflecting on memorable volleyball moments. She has created a legacy on the court and in the hearts of her players. Nicole and I will begin our reflections with, you know Karen Swanson is your coach when?
She had a well-executed preseason plan each year that provided opportunities beyond traditional preseason training for players to connect and unite through team-building activities, ropes courses, rock climbing, trust falls, and a Lake Geneva retreat.
She taught you to be a mature opponent. For example, prior to each volleyball match, players customarily exchange a hand greeting under the net. Opposing players typically say, good luck. Instead of saying good luck, Coach reframed our thinking to exchange handshakes with the words, I wish you well, to encourage the opponent to bring forth their best game and recognize that luck does not have spiritual significance.
She coached to a level of excellence such that she took 3 of her teams to the National NCCAA tournament. She empowered us to be mature Christian women who reflected Christ whenever we traveled, whether by plane, bus, or van. During one of our national tournaments to Tennessee, Coach gave her team the privilege of having lunch with Michael W. Smith. That was pretty cool.
Coach taught us to use the words, better the ball, to our teammates instead of saying, it's okay, as a source of comfort when teammates make a skill error. In addition, Coach took the time to teach the game of volleyball well, so you would become a smarter player. She taught us to read the court and read our opponents, so we could anticipate the best offensive and best defensive strategy.
She fostered team bonding experiences through Secret Sister Partners. This was an opportunity for players to write and deliver notes to one another throughout the season to inspire encouragement and care.
She promoted team emotional stability by announcing to her team at the beginning of each volleyball season that if you are dating someone, keep in mind that there are no boyfriend breakups. during the volleyball season.
She had a great sense of humor and the gift of incorporating pranks and fun into life. This includes taking the time to teach your players how to properly mattress surf on hotel beds during tournament overnights, and then capturing it all on camera.
Coach inspired fun team bonding activities during the season like Pick a Date. This is where the whole team goes on a group date. Each volleyball player is matched with a guy chosen by the team captains, not by one's choice. To this day, I still remember meeting my Pick a Date guy in the lobby of the athletic center as he and I discovered one another as a match because we were both wearing bathrobes. Nicole discovered her match because she and her date were both wearing Domino's delivery t-shirts.
She broke her own rule of Christian-only music in the van when we were allowed to listen to the Grease movie soundtrack that her husband Mark dubbed on a cassette tape to have a team sing-along in the van. She also invited the whole team to her house to watch the movie Dead of Winter, which gets you scared half to death to walk back to the Bolton door.
Coach also baked the best special team treat during the volleyball season and on the annual Dead of Winter movie night, which was her soft, gooey caramel brownies.
She always demonstrated Christ as the center of her life and radiated Christ in her coaching. She consistently modeled and continues to model intentionality through her words, behavior, and choices.
Coach gifted each player on the team a leather Oswald Chamber devotional book as an end of the season volleyball gift to foster spiritual growth in daily devotions, which I still have.
She loved her players enough to have hard conversations with them. They respected and loved her all the more for having done so, even when it was hard to hear what needed to be heard. Coach wisely shared the truth and love. She is an outstanding role model and a remarkable example of how to live out your faith, even despite hard circumstances.
Coach went way beyond the court to provide life-impacting experiences for her athletes. Coach took her entire team on a mission trip to Puerto Rico in 1997. On this trip, we taught volleyball to deaf students, ministered to orphans and school-age students, and shared the gospel at a woman's home, among several other ministry opportunities. It was a life-changing experience for us.
She always treated you with dignity and regard, never shame or disrespect. Coach has a respected reputation among her contemporaries, coalition conference coaches, referees, and her beloved athletes.
Nicole and I are grateful for this honor to introduce you to our coach. She has left a lasting impact on Judson, her teams, and her athletes. She is a woman of character who works hard, loves deeply, and cares eternally. Coach, we love you, and we thank you for investing in all of our lives and for modeling Jesus in all that you do. Please welcome Dr. Karen Swanson, our coach.
Thanks, Lana and Nicole, and I'm glad you didn't give away all the secrets. But I do want to thank the athletic committee for this award. I'm truly honored. Also appreciate the players who have driven a long way to be here today. You guys were always my favorites. All right, so since receiving this award, I've been reflecting on my time coaching volleyball here at Judson, and it always brings a smile. The practices, the games, the mission trip, eating dinner with Michael W. Smith, but mostly just the time with the players. I just want to share a few thoughts that stand out to me. First of all, when I came here to Judson, I'd been married a little over a month, and my husband and I moved in on campus and started coaching volleyball here. And my husband, Mark, was so supportive and loved me being a coach, and he loved being with the team and traveling with the team, and he just enjoyed the whole experience. And one of the things that that is so special to me is that my husband lived 7 years before cancer took him, and God permanently healed him and took him home. And that I share that 7 years with my players. And so that's a bond that we have that I don't have with a lot of people who really knew Mark and loved him well. The second one is I've been described as a benevolent dictator as a coach. And I would probably say agree with that, okay? I do love my players and care deeply for them and spoil them rotten, okay? But I also, when it was time for them to listen to what I had to say, I expected them to do what I told them. And again, it was just a great relationship. And I did have the dating rule. Now the dating rule is we didn't want you to get all emotional and messed up during the season and affect your play. But if they were dating someone that I didn't really like, then it was okay to break up. Third, I thought a little bit again about my philosophy of coaching, which I took from Colossians 3. And I tried to nurture that in my players, to love one another and to love God. And whatever they did is to work at it with all their heart, keeping their audience as Jesus only. Not mattering who came to the game or who wasn't at the game, but they were playing for Jesus. And that's what mattered. And the other thing was to just play their hearts out. I would have people run sprints if they looked at the scoreboard, because I wanted them to play as hard as they could, and the winning was a byproduct. It wasn't out just to win. Fourth, when God released me from coaching, I was pleased to hand over the team to Jen Salazar, a former player. And when I was asked about what I missed most about coaching, again, it wasn't about the game, it wasn't about the competition, even though I love volleyball and I hate to lose. The answer was always easy. It was the players. And coaching was such a privilege. The opportunity to disciple and to invest in young women who are at a time in their life when they're seeking decisions about career, marriage, and even their faith. Growing up in a Christian home, they had to decide, is this my parents' faith or is it mine? And so they had this opportunity, this time to really take ownership of that. And so just journeying with the players through that season of their life was special, and to be a part of that, that's what I miss most. And lastly, the greatest reward for me is seeing my players more than 25 years later, loving Jesus and walking with him. And if I played a small part in that, that's what brings me great joy. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Ed, Nicole, and Karen. We are so incredibly proud of you, proud to call you Eagles, proud to have you back on campus, and really proud to walk with you as you go on and take your next steps in your journey. So let's give our 3 inductees another great round of applause. Thank you for all of you for being here tonight. I also want to say another congratulations to Annalie. We're very excited for you, so let's give her another round of applause. A big thank you to our advancement team, Kristen Egan, Julie Schmidt, and her team for all of their work in organizing this and making everything run smoothly. So we really appreciate the work that they've done on this event, but the entire weekend as well. So thank you to the advancement team. Let's give them a round of applause. At the conclusion of this event, we will do a celebration of life service for Doc Rider at 1:30 in the chapel. There will be seats reserved for people coming from this event, so you don't have to worry about rushing, but please do make sure that you're there by 1:30, and seats will be reserved for you. Other activities taking place today, we have a Residence Life open house until 3:30. We have a Global Outreach open house until 4 o'clock in the Alumni Room in the University Center. And then at 5 o'clock, let's hold off the rain, okay? Let's do our anti-rain dances this afternoon. And hold off the rain because at 5 o'clock we do the President's Tailgate and Alumni Tailgate at Dundee Crown High School for our first ever homecoming football game. And that game is at 7 o'clock this evening at Dundee Crown High School. So thank you all for being here. Hall of Fame inductees, will you please remain and meet us over by the media backdrop? We'd like to do a group photo for all of you. Thank you all for being here today. Have a great day, and go Eagles.